Hello, my friends. Deb Kalidas here. It's the Just Get to Work podcast. Whether you're listening in the car, on YouTube, or you're watching or anything, I appreciate it. As I keep going along, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm just starting out with this. I've been doing in business for a long time, but I am so encouraged that I have some fans. And please let me know how I can do better, what topics I should be covering, and we'll go from there. All right, today is about hustle. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Let me tell you, if there is anything in life that will get you from point A to point B, it is a hustle. And I'm not talking about scamming this and doing that or being a leering center. Oh gosh, that's such a mess. I'm talking about what can you be doing for yourself that gets you to the next level of a goal or objective that you want to achieve. Now, this can be in business, which we'll talk about today, but it can also be in finding a spouse. It can be finding a new roommate. It can be getting yourself into a new situation because you don't like your current one. So there's many ways to think about a hustle so that you can get all your goals and objectives achieved. So the first thing you need to do with a good hustle is you need to come up with the right goals and objectives so that you can achieve. Every single year, at the start of January or maybe the end of December, I put up the new 12-month calendar here in the office. I'll take a picture. I'll make sure it gets somewhere for you guys. And also, I set up the goals. Like, what are my goals? And there's some authors. Jim Collins is one of them. He talks about your big, hairy, audacious goals. What are those things that are a mile high in the sky, but if you don't put them out there, you're never going to know that they could actually be possible. So that's a very important part where don't start a hustle without knowing what your end game is. It doesn't mean that it's a straight path. It's very often more like playing chutes and ladders to see where you start and where you end up. But then at least you have that in mind that gives you direction and purpose. For example, if you have decided that you're going to be the best drag racer in the entire world, and you don't start by learning from those who know how to drag race and going to events where people are that know vehicles and the rules and the cars and the trailers and everything that you need, don't go to a baking contest. That's not going to help you be a drag racer. So that's the sort of thing that you need to have in mind from point A to point B to be able to get to where you need to go. So get those goals, have that mindset for what's going on. Like right now, we're trying to grow our farm. I'm growing Focus Point Communications. We've got the snow business going on. We are making sure that we're meeting with the right people, going to the right learning, the conferences, the trade shows, the networking groups that put us around the people that we want to be around that can take us to the next step. But we only know that because we've written it down. And hey, I know you might like digital, but if you can write it in your handwriting and pop it on the wall, I've got mine over on the side. Always, I put some pictures to it. Specifically, my husband doesn't know how to use Pinterest, so if there's anything having to do with the farm or I need him involved, I have to print out a picture. But make sure that that is there, that you're defining your goals so that you know the target audience that you're going after. Now, here's the thing about a good hustle. As you discover key points in life that kind are a turning point, sometimes it's just time to do it, right? Your child is turning 18. They're graduating out of high school. Their hustle has to be, are they going to college? Are they going to work? Are they going to trade school? Are they going into the armed forces? That is a forced hustle that you have to have upon themselves. But you need to know your goal, right? Because if your goal is to be a rocket science, well, guess what? Rocket science really isn't probably in the trade school. That's more in the college or the armed forces. You need to know where you're spending your time. But here's the other side of forced moments of knowing a hustle. I come from a single mom. I know what it is living in an environment where my mom was always on a hustle because that's what she had for her own sanity, to take care of my brother and I, to effectively and efficiently do everything that she had going on. And sometimes, well, no, all the time, you never know what you're capable of unless you have to fight for it in one way or another. If things are just handed there, one thing after the other, you don't know the process it took to truly get there and if it's truly important enough for you to fight for it along the way. So think about those moments of what you wanted. And for me, it was back in 1990. I wanted a new Huffy bike. Oh my gosh, that Huffy bike was beautiful. It was like the spirals, you know, the handlebars. I don't even know if they make them that way anymore, except for racing bikes. It was at Toys R Us. I knew exactly what I wanted, but it was $100. I didn't even do the conversion of what $100 is between 1990 and now. I don't even want to know. So I had to do a hustle, right? I had to figure things out. I was a middle schooler. So I was like, well, I love kids. I love what's going on. And there seems to be this magical thing called the church bulletin board. I made my flyer. I had the little tear off things. And by goodness, I got a couple families, and those families turned into more families. And I did get that Huffy bike. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. It was pink. I rode it all over the place. But that was my first introduction to a hustle where you have a goal. I wanted that bike. How do I get it? Well, mom says she's not buying it for me, so I need to increase my revenue because it was at zero at that time. What do I need to do? What are my resources of what's going on? So what is around you? What is your goal? What are the resources? What do you have to start that march forward for what you are trying to get to? Now, in 2000, that was where I was graduating college, and I'm sure you know that feeling as well. You have to get that first job, or you're starting that first business. And for me, I was graduated with communications and elementary ed certification. So I started applying to all the schools, and I had to, do the resume and everything. And again, this is way back, a quarter century ago in 2000. Email and attachments were barely a thing. And sure enough, within that hustle, I was hitting brick walls. I was sending things, and my GPA was on point, and my experience was on point. And what was happening? Well, as it turned out, the one HR office of the one school district had the wrong phone number for me. Cell phones were brand new. It wasn't like the same phone number traveled with you all the time. I had left my dorm room phone. They did not get the updated phone of my new apartment. And so when they called for the interview, there was no one answering. The email had been shut off from the school and therefore down and out. So here I was, end of August, no teaching job, feeling totally frustrated from what had happened of the missed opportunity with the other school district. And so my boyfriend at that time had an aunt who happened to work within another of the school districts. She reached out to one of her connections of a school principal, called me into his office and said, Deb, and it was this printed pile of resumes like this tall. I interviewed for a position up to page 21. You're on page 22. The girl I hired on 21 quit after a week working with our summer program. Why should I hire you as page 22? And thankfully I had an answer. And then he said, hey, after all these years, why would so-and-so recommend someone? I said, well, I'm dating her nephew. And God's truth, I said it and everything. And thank goodness. Because that guy's now my husband. And all of these people are, still wonderful people that I reflect upon. But that was the hustle, right? I had to ask for help. I had to reach out my comfort zone of what I thought I could do and then use the connections that was there. And goodness gracious, I love that job. It was fantastic. And I held it within that school district until I started having our own kiddos. So those are moments. Just reflect on who's helped you along the way in your hustle. So as I mentioned, kids, oh my gosh, there is no greater hustle in life than having kiddos. God bless my husband and I, we had the goal. We are going to make it so that I can be home with them and that we would not place them in daycare. And his mom lives super nearby. My mom was always willing to travel for overnights. And so we readjusted at that moment our landscaping business so that what did we need to do to expand that business so that I could step in a role to be helping and encouraging and growing that business so that, hey, when mom's on the phone in the afternoon or needs to take a call or we need to drive to a landscape site, guess what? I'm loading up the 2 car seats in the back of the car and we're going together as a family. This is teamwork that we had. And that's what's beautiful about a hustle, my friends. So many people put life in a little box to say, oh man, we're going to have to sacrifice all of this to be able to reach this goal. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to get to some sacrifices in a moment, but you can also have the growth mentality of, hey, if I want this, how much more do I just need to work or adjust life or just make sure that things are rearranged so that that can be accomplished? And I can say through everything between, birth through, age 18, my kids did not need to be in a daycare situation. Now, not knocking anyone out there with daycare, please don't read it wrong. But if that's something that's nagging at your heart, I can encourage you to look at the hustle that could be made so that that is not needed. Or how do you need to incorporate incorporate, other moms that are out there that are in the same situation and help each other out and families in different ways. So again, it's all power because the mom is out there. As I said, I had a single mom. We were brought to work so many times and had summer babysitters and things like that. I understand you do what is needed, but don't hesitate to step out of your box, to hustle in a different and new way and put yourself out there, because what can happen is truly amazing. And we needed that because in 2008, as I said, we had a landscaping business. And if you're of my age, 2008, it sucked. There's no other way to say it. When the housing market crashed, we went from extreme business to absolutely nothing. And here I was looking at two small children at home. At that point, teaching wasn't even an option to get back into the school district locally because there was not a teacher shortage like there is today. And my husband and I had to look at each other and go, okay, we have a landscaper and we have an educator communicator. What can we do with that? Well, we approached a local farm and we said, can we do a corn maze with an educational field trip component? And that's how our farming together really began, which now is up to 55 acres and a crazy amount of things. And it all came because we were under pressure. It's a little cliche that coal becomes a diamond when it's under enough pressure, but that's what hustle is about, is figuring it out and knowing where can one idea take to another, to the point where you're no longer afraid to fail. And that's really what needs to happen because, you are going to fail. You are going to be in situations. And at that moment, all right, we began to reincorporate everything and what was going on. But we also knew, wait a minute, this economy is not going back to where it needed to be and the speed that we needed it to sustain our family. So we had this idea for our gyro restaurant, the Gyro Company, a fast casual. Doesn't that sound great? Everyone needs to eat. What? We could do a restaurant. Why is that so hard? Good Lord, were we in for a trip. So I actually got a serving job at a high-end steakhouse for a full year. So my mother-in-law would come over or my husband would arrange his crew so that he got home at 3:00. Around the time I'd be picking up the kids from school, I'd get them to him. From that transfer, I would go off to work for the night. I'd get home around 11 p.m. And then my husband was out the door at 6, 7 a.m. with the mowing and the landscaping that we did have. We did that for a full straight 12 months straight through. And that was hard. I remember walking out the door on Thanksgiving Day, having to go be a waitress. And I was crying because I was leaving a full house full of family and people going on. But we had a goal. We needed to show the banks that we had something of restaurant experience. And I had to show that we were able to, get that little extra income so that we could get to where we need to be able to open our restaurant. And we did. We successfully opened the Gyro Company in 2010 after 23 banks. That means 22 of the banks turned us down and said, no, absolutely not. And it was the 23rd that gave us, what we needed. And we were able to operate that from, 2010 to 2014 when we really lost it all. I thought 2008 was rough. Forget about it. We were totally underwater. We owed so many vendors money. We were so frustrated with ourselves. Business was not where it needed to be. Even though people loved our food and we had great ratings and everything was there, we were underfunded. We made mistakes. And it just came all crashing on top of us until the point where we had to declare bankruptcy. And that was a moment of a different kind of emotional hustle. If you are there today and you happen to be at a moment where you're like, oh man, I have a relationship, I have to leave. Or, oh my gosh, my child is struggling and they're not getting the time and resources that they need. Or, oh my goodness, there is nothing in the bank account to, get this next step of what I need, even getting gas later on this week or groceries or something like that. I have been there. That hustle was different. It was learning how to get on, government assistance for food for a month. It was about how do we find a right lawyer to protect us? How do we protect our kids during this so that they are not, traumatized by anything? And most of all, how do we protect our marriage? How do we get through something such as losing our house, losing cars, losing the bank accounts, losing anything and everything physically that the world associates with quote unquote success or anything, and going back to zero. But that zero was the biggest blessing of reset. And you've heard me before. And, you have to rely upon your important priorities. money was not important anymore as it was. It wasn't something that we were getting to for any kind of status. Rather, it was a tool of what we needed to do to survive, but then how are we going to grow? And that was through faith and security in our family, reinventing ourselves, and a heck of a lot of hard work in a new, different manner. And hey, there was lots of panic attacks. There was lots of moments of, oh gosh, what are we going to do tomorrow? Because we were letting people down. Goodness gracious. When you have no money to pay your bills, it is not fun, and you are not proud of what's going on. But we knew that we weren't in a mindset that we were going to stay there. And so we very quickly began to reinvent what was going to happen and what needed to go on. And for me, that was me stepping into the workforce again. But I was able to wonderfully, through networking and connections, find an awesome opportunity that allowed me to work from home. It gave me the flexibility to still be there for now, teenager children that were able to be on their own for certain amounts of time and be able to keep our family moving forward, which was our top priority along with our faith, but yet still be able to be there. And that was hard though too. I began traveling more, the energy that was needed, putting in things. And, that then eventually came to an end within a couple of years. But if I could go back and do it all over again, people have asked me, well, what would you do? And that's hard because I know now how we should have avoided bankruptcy. I know now how we should have structured things differently and been there for each other at different moments, or been creative faster and not waited so long on decisions. But if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have been able to go from 2017 to now and have this incredible, Focus Point communication agency, have a team of 5 individuals, working for me, in addition to our snow removal business, in addition to our 55-acre farm, in addition to the gyro company that still exists in the local ballpark, in existence then to about the 13 other ideas that we have for what we want to do next. I was able to now create my own rules. I was able to network, learn new skills, have fresh ideas, build that team, surround myself with the people and energy that are needed, be faithful in my commitments, take care of myself. Oh my gosh, serve others, be authentic. This is everything that comes together at that moment for hustle. So often we're in this, social media society that, and I get ads all the time because of what I'm searching in the industry that I'm in, of everybody telling you, oh, I'm selling this course on how to do this, or, read this book and it'll give you the 12 and a half steps that lead you to the 15 next steps to maybe run your own course and make 18 figures. It drives me nuts because here is the mantra of just get to work. If you just spend enough time for yourself, and that for yourself time, maybe 5 minutes sitting in the driveway before you go in the house. If you are truly honoring your commitments of faith and family first, it is amazing what's going to happen in your hustle when you start giving the gifts that you have to others that are out there in different ways. And certainly, hey, take my example that, hey, if Deb can do it, oh my gosh, then you can do it. And it's all about forming the life that you know that you need to lead so that you can be helping others and what they've got going on and being a resource to them. So the hustle, my friends, let's go through this real quick. You are going to make a list of what you want to be doing so that you know what you're fighting for. And you're going to take all that strength from any struggles that you've had, albeit personal, business, family, health-wise, because you know what it's worth fighting for. You're then going to take moments of your past and turn it into your future because of what you've learned. You're going to surround yourself by the people who really can support you and who you can reach out to and figure out, well, what is that next? And then from there, please step back and enjoy moments of success. Maybe it's just sitting next to the right person by happenstance at a networking event that can help you meet the next person that, hey, is a business. Maybe it's finding that ultimate person that starts as your employee and turns as an incredible friend and partner in business. Maybe it's just, hey, that right moment at the right time where you and your spouse are sitting in the Chick-fil-A parking lot, just enjoying your nuggets and being thankful for that time of peace and quiet away from the kiddos and all that you have going on. So my friends, keep up the hustle, keep up the relationships, be authentic, show up every day, do something a little bit different, step out of your comfort zone, and amazing things will continue happening. So that's Deb Cletus here at Just Get to Work. And if you need help on anything, reach out to me, focuspointcommunications.com. I'm always just an email away. See you soon, my friends.